Perfect.
Cool. Well, first of all, let me say how funny I think it is that I had no knowledge, I'm sure you didn't either, that you chose Team Crushers, and this is the Crushing It podcast.
That's right.
So there's something to do with similar mindsets as far as bombing it out there.
That's right. How funny is that? No, I know, man. It's been a wild ride for me. This whole year and a little bit has been interesting, to say the least. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that I'm happy. I'm enjoying everything about it. And this is something that's not going away for a long time. And there's going to be great additions to it. This is a beta test. That's the cool part about it. We're a beta test that's going and competing. So I'm pretty proud of the fact of what we've all done together and what LIV Golf has done, and no buyer's remorse. And I'm looking forward to the future, as it unfolds.
For sure. Well, it's obvious that you guys are being really ingenuitive. You're coming up with awesome new ideas, and I think the sport needed it. And the interest that it's attracting obviously shows the desire for something new, something different, and it's been fantastic to watch so far.
Thank you. It's been fun, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, for sure. You got quite a nice trophy case behind you there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. This is U.S. Amateur Trophy, Memorial, U.S. Open, Arnold Palmer, Dell Technologies, Rocket Mortgage, and John Deere.
If you had to pick one, which would be your favorite?
Probably the U.S. Amateur. That's the thing that started it all.
And so you won, it was the U.S. Amateur and the NCAA in the same year, right?
That's correct.
So you really kickstarted your career in a hurry.
Yeah, really quickly. I was fortunate that I won those two events. Those are the only two events I won all year. So kind of lucky.
The good ones.
The good ones, yeah. And I think that as time went on, I realized how special they were to me in my own heart. I didn't think it'd be the best accomplishment. Obviously, the U.S. Open's amazing. But as I look back on it, that's what really jump-started everything and gave me so many opportunities. And ultimately allowed me to get to live because of all of that. And I have all the respect for that too. People think that I'm not respecting, where I came from and everything. I really highly disagree with that. And people can disagree with me on that as well. But personally, from my standpoint, all of this is what allowed LIV Golf for me to have that opportunity for LIV Golf. And people talk about, what about Tiger and everything? And I've said this from day one. He is the reason for LIV Golf, specifically. Himself is the sole reason why LIV Golf exists. And we have him to thank for it. Now that all of us professionals have moved over, a lot of us have moved over to LIV Golf, we're paving a way for future generations. The game of golf isn't owned by one entity or one person. Golf is a force for good, man. And when you grow it globally and you give it around the world and you showcase it in different highlights in different ways, whether it's long drive, whether it's the women's game, whether it's disabled people, you've got the USGA in their adaptive championships. I think that's just amazing. I applaud them for that. And I applaud anyone who's giving golf a new look, a different look, a way to see the game in a different light. And that's what I respect most about anyone that's trying to provide that type of input.
For sure. And you brought up a number of cool things, and I want to get into long drive and your incredible pursuit of distance in a few minutes. But first, let me say one of the things that I thought first initially as a major selling point for someone from my perspective, maybe a little selfishly, but one of the benefits to LIV was that there was kind of one route before, maybe a couple of very similar routes to get into top level professional golf. And then you saw just recently, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy over at ASU, I believe, he now signed with LIV. So it's opening up all these opportunities for people who maybe didn't go the U.S. Amateur and NCAA victory route now to get into that really high level, and that's going to grow the game in other ways as well.
That too, but you're going to see some announcements here in the next couple of weeks about what they're doing for their qualifying, their qualifications to get into the Asian Tour or International Series, potentially a feeder tour into that, and then International Series going into LIV. I mean, there's going to be a whole process that gets into LIV. So it's I wish I could say more. They briefed us on it for a little bit, but there is a lot coming down the line that is super positive and beneficial for the game of golf in general. Whether you like us or not, it's going to grow the game and bring more eyes to the sport.
Cool. Very cool. So I know you've talked about it a lot, but tell me kind of like a brief intro or brief story of why you chose distance to be such a focus for your game. Because if you look back, like 3 years ago, you probably would never even guess, looking at yourself now, how you would look, how you'd be hitting the ball, all of that kind of stuff. So how did that all transpire?
Well, I saw Kyle won the 2019 championship, and I was blown away with how much speed he had. I thought over 220 mile an hour ball speed, and I was like at 175. I'm like, what if I could get to like 190? What would that look like? What would I do? What would it be like? And I just made it to, I was getting a little disappointed with my game at the point in time in 2019. Excuse me. And I decided, hey, let's just give it a shot. Let's see if I can hit it farther and see what happens. And sure enough, I gained some distance pretty quick, and I kept adding to it and hung around some of the right people that helped me understand how to produce some speed, as well as learn how to still hit it straight. And from that, I continued to gain distance. And there's a stat that if you gain 3 yards off the tee, you can be 6 more yards offline and still have the same strokes gained potential. And that really intrigued me. Chris Como and I went down the road of just trying to figure out how to get as much speed and hit as straight as possible. And we did it. And I'm not stopping. I mean, my hand injury, that was my fault. I slipped and fell. I wasn't taking my hands seriously in regards to just training them correctly. And it hurt, unfortunately. Hurt me for this past year. And it's taken me a little bit to get back into top form, playing the game the way I know how to. And, I got the World Long Drive PLDA championships, world championships coming up here, and I'm looking forward to competing again. I've got some speed. I mean, last week I was easily getting to 200, no problem, with my driver with a 46. And so hopefully 48 and a little bit of training to get myself to free up. Hopefully I can get to 220 this year and be over 220, somewhat competing.
How do you think, or I guess let me ask you different. If you were to add a PLDA trophy on the wall back there, where would that kind of rank for you?
Oh shoot! I mean,
like is that something like? Do you want? I mean, I think obviously you're a top competitor. You're a very competitive person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So are you competing, to do it and to do well at it, or do you want to win? Are you doing it like everything else probably in your life?
Oh no! I'm in it to win it. Like that's my goal. I wish I had more time. Like next year, I'm going to have more time to properly prepare for this, for the events and whatnot. Just because the schedules are going to be set and it's going to be easy to do compared to the PGA Tour schedule where it can move, and there's a lot of weird dynamics to it. But like you see my YouTube plaque right there, 100,000 subscribers, which is a huge thing for me. And I appreciate all my subs out there and whatnot, what they do to watch my channel and support my channel. But I think it'd be right up next to that YouTube plaque for sure. I mean, the golf championships are still bigger because I've always wanted to win those championships growing up. But now, as time has gone on, I've learned to appreciate the sport, long drive, PLDA. And I would say it's right up there with like my first PGA Tour win, if I was to win one, because it's kind of the same thing. If I go win a PLDA event, I love it. It'd be right up there with because it's a huge accomplishment. I went from nothing, 175 mile an hour ball speed, to competing with the best in the world and somewhat having a chance.
And in the same vein of what we were talking about with what's coming up with LIV Golf, if you look back at yourself 3 years ago, nobody would know. If you look at LIV Golf 3 years from now, who knows what it could be doing? It's already breaking amazing ground, but 3 years from now, who knows?
I know some of their future plans. I don't know everything. What I can tell you is it's beyond exciting.
I've heard you talk about a lot of the stuff that you're doing personally in the Dallas area and everything like that.
Yep.
That's amazing stuff as well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we're working hard to try and get this piece of land. It's been tough to get, but we're going to get it here soon, hopefully the next couple of weeks, and start developing. I want to grow the sport of PLDA, long drive, and want to see how far we can go with it, as well as create an academy and grow junior golfers around the area and have access to the DFW airport pretty easily within 15 minutes.
Excuse me for a second. I want to tell you real quick about my favorite training aid and a sponsor of the podcast, the Lag Shot. It's designed with what they call lag flex technology that'll help you to create and maintain more lag in your swing. which will give you better consistency and more speed, which we all want, right? But my favorite part is that you can go out and actually hit balls with it. It's a real club. They make a driver, a 7-iron, and a wedge. So you can incorporate it into your practice sessions to ingrain the better technique that it's teaching you. Once you try it, you'll see why I love it. Go to lagshotgolf.com/crush or click the link in the description below to get 15% off. lagshotgolf.com/crush.
And just create more growth here in the city of Dallas and Flower Mound and Grapevine. I just want to continue to grow the sport of the game of golf, and long drive as well. Those are my passions, and kids are my passion. Love helping out kids, and then want to teach people to hit it farther. I think it's a lot of fun. It releases a lot of anger.
It does, for sure. Yeah, that's one of the benefits. I've often said, and people who have listened to a number of these episodes, they've probably heard me say that when I first got into long drive, I equated it to if you take a 5-hour tournament round, all the highs and lows you have, but then you squish it down into 2.5 minutes. Yep. It's kind of the same deal. You get all of those emotions, but it's so condensed. It gets really exciting and good and bad and all of it mixed in.
You don't have to be as precise, that's for sure, as in professional golf. But that's the beautiful part about it, I think. You mess up and you can still win. I think that's the cool part. And in golf, it's the same way, but you can't mess up that much.
Yeah.
So at least from what I can experience.
Like you said, if you're going 3 yards farther, you can be 6 yards more offline. And you said that because they kind of go hand in hand. Even if you keep the same deviation of miss, a degree or 2 degrees or whatever, right, just going further, of course, is going to make it further offline.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of times where I see a guy miss a ball and it still ends up the left center of the fairway. I'm like, gosh dang it, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore. I don't have that luxury.
Yeah, no. But, good and bad, right?
Right. So it's positives.
Let's get into some of the details of what you do. So last winter, you and I were down at the One Stop Power Shop, and I asked you kind of what you feel when you go out and when you're playing. Are you focused on your target? Are you focused on your swing? And you gave me a cool answer where you said that it's kind of none of that, but it's kind of all of it as well, where you have everything factored in to your setup, to your swing, in a way that then it takes out all emotion. It doesn't matter if you're hyped up or if you're feeling tired that day or you're angry. So, I mean, that's a really, it sounds like it's the best approach to take, but it's probably easier said than done.
It's way easier said than done because it requires a lot of practice, a lot of hours spent trying to just understand the game and figure out your golf swing and how to make it make sense to make it as repeatable as possible. That's the most important piece of it all. Is if you can be repeatable in any scenario, whether you're hyped or low or whatever it is, you're going to be able to perform at a high level because of it. So like yesterday, for example, there were moments where I had some thoughts flutter in my mind right before shots, and I would still just execute because I'm not worried that I'm going to mess up because of a thought. It's just I'm making a force input to the club and it just does what it does. It's tough to explain until you go down the full road to see what I mean. Because I can toe it, I can heel it, I can thin it, I can hit it high in the face. When your brain is so locked into hitting it perfect and executing the right force profile with the right timing and all that, it's this weird Zen area you get into. It's wild. And you just have this next level focus. You just sort of I'm going to will it right next to the hole. I just know it's going to go right there because of all my experience and work that I put into it.
Now, do you think there's one way, your method of different tensions and locking, or how does somebody find out the best for them?
You have to try a bunch of stuff. I'm sure it's a combination of, some people locking stuff down or some people just being in better rhythm, like swinging it softer or, doing something that allows their body to repeat motion a lot more. You got to find what works for you. It's not about, this is the way to do it. I've had plenty of times where I thought, this is the way to do it. And it just breaks down. This has got to be it. Oh, no, it fails. I mean, I'm going down rabbit holes every single day and I have to pull myself out because 99% of them don't work. And you're always trying to find that one little or put 0.1% to get just a bit better. And most of the time it bites you in the butt. So
how do you, now that and for years you've been at an extremely high level. So how do you measure your progress? Are you looking at stats in the tournaments? Are you looking at things outside of it in practice?
I know. So I've won 8 times on tour, and I know when I'm playing my best and when I'm hitting at my best. So I relate myself back to those standards all the time. And it's not about how many fairways I hit. It's not about how many greens I hit. Because obviously we know if we hit every fairway, hit every green, and make every putt, you're 254. Like or lower than that, right? So that's the ultimate goal. But we know based off of how repeatable I am and how good I am at executing a certain shot to what I see is happening, I know what it should be. Mm-hmm. And if it's not up to that level, then I start to question, all right, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not working? How do I get back into that comfortable mind frame?
Do you think that level that you relate it to is the best that you can do? Or do you think you can surpass where you've been?
Oh, you can definitely surpass where I've been. There's no doubt about it. Because there were even times where I had my A- game in one, and there was like a couple putts I could have made or a couple shots I could have executed differently. And so, you're operating on a factor of how many times can I repeat my motion? And if you can repeat it more than others, you're going to usually play a lot better, given you don't get crazy, unlucky bounces and whatnot.
Sure. So then carrying it over to distance, I feel like there's kind of like 2 groups of people who are mainly watching this, and it's either a long driver who wants to get better at long drive, or it's a recreational golfer, maybe like play some tournaments and stuff, but they realize the value of hitting it farther. And in this, both of those groups of people would benefit from recognizing that you can hit it farther and you can still be really accurate. So what are some of the things that you do personally and that you've done and tried and whatever that have helped that?
Well, one is just swinging as hard as you can. There's no doubt about that. And then learning how to square the face through that process and finding some motions that allow you to repeat that swinging as hard as you can consistently. And it differs for everybody. Everybody has different grips. Everybody has different stances. Everybody has different body lengths and everything. It's all going to depend. And you've got to be the one that figures it out on your own. There's not going to be another person that's going to come down the road and say, hey, this is the magical answer for it. No. You got to go down the full gambit and figure it out on your own. You can't, I can't personally tell you how to do it because I still don't know how to hit it dead straight every single time. I hit it pretty dang straight for how far I hit it, but it doesn't mean I know everything. And I will fully admit that I don't know everything, and I'm continuing to try and work. That's why you see me on the range all the time, working as hard as I can, because I care so much about wanting to fix it and figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I can eventually tell the world, hey, this is my whole experience off of what happened in my life. I can look back and go, this is the whole process I went through to figure it out. And that would be really cool one day. But each journey is different. The most important thing is hitting 120 drivers when you're starting to speed train. Kyle and Martin told me that when you're really trying to push to get some speed, learn to move faster effortlessly. Don't try and force it. Try and move it easier. It's the toughest thing to do, but it's the most rewarding thing when you can get finally freed up and let it go.
And it's really counterintuitive because at least from my perspective, like, and you know this as well, if you're going in and you're going to do like a heavy deadlift or something, you know what creating the tension in your body feels like. You're getting tight everywhere. You're locked in, and that's almost the opposite feeling of what you want to hit the ball far, because it ultimately has to be like a whip, and the whip comes from relaxing and then the speed coming through at the end.
Yeah. You're accelerating the club at the right time. You're applying force at the right time. Like, the goal is not to be the fastest from the top of the swing. Your goal is not to be the fastest taking it away. Your goal is to be the fastest at this small little brief moment in time. And how can you best do that? How can you best load it to unload it in the right moment? And that's something that's really important to learn.
Yeah, and it without a launch monitor, it's really tough, because I've
have to have a launch monitor.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of. For a long time, I didn't have one. Now I'm able to use one, but you could go out and you could kind of put that effort in. Like if you're going to lift something heavy, and it's counterproductive. It might feel great. It might feel like you're just crushing the ball, but
not. No. Yep. And you got to break neurological barriers. So it's all about neurologically breaking yourself down. It's not about your force output, anything like that. It's your nervous system allowing yourself to go, oh, that's faster. Oh, that's okay. I felt softer, but it went faster. Okay, let me try that again. Replicating things that you feel throughout your golf swing that allow you to produce more speed.
Yeah, it seems like so. And you've done a lot of weightlifting training. I'd love to hear kind of what you found, but it seems like there's a minimum strength that you need. And then on top of that, once you go above that level, it's almost counterproductive, because you should be spending your time, like you were just saying, training your nervous system to move faster, because you've got the requisite strength for safety and for performance, but then you need those fast twitch accelerations and decelerations.
Yeah, you have to learn how to, you first off have to have the strength, which is what we've all produced. It takes about 6 to 7 months really to get yourself to a place where, okay, I'm now strong enough to withstand all the forces going into the body, and then training the body how to move faster. Like, you're not going to get faster in a 100 yards dash by doing squats all day. You're just not. You got to go run. You got to go sprint. You got to go do it day in and day out and trying to beat records. And that's what we have to do with long drive. You have to go out there and swing it faster. It's funny, when I hit 220 in December of last year, I honestly felt like I was swinging it soft during that moment. It was not any more force output than I've put so much more force into other times and gotten maybe 208 out of it, 208 ball speed. And that day I just felt like, Kyle was there. He was amping me up. It was just adrenaline, and my body was just firing really well, even though my hand was hurting at that point in time. And literally it was going faster, 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 faster. And it wasn't like it was a 1-2 mile an hour jump. It was like a 4 or 5 mile an hour jump that I was hitting. I'm like, oh, okay, today's different. Just one of those days you have, you're like, oh, okay, I feel like I can run through brick walls and not even be touched by it. Like, I could run through glass and be impenetrable. There's just days you have that, and those are the days you prep for. Like, that's what I'm prepping for in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be focusing everything I can to make my body fly like a bird. I know it sounds so dumb, but that's kind of my analogy. I want to fly like an eagle.
No, I love it.
Just,
I talked about this before, but there's this book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Have you read that? It's this short little Zen book. It's awesome. You should check it out before Worlds. It's about this guy, Jonathan Livingston. He's actually a seagull. It's a silly book, but he loves speed, and I guess it's like impolite or whatever for seagulls to fly fast, but that's his dream, and he just loves it. And at the very end of I guess I'll give it away, but you should still read it.
Sure.
He's like, perfect speed is being there. So you're not straining, you're not trying to go, you're just there. You're doing it. And it helps. Like, if you visualizing that, it's probably better than a lot of other things you could be doing.
Yeah. I mean, my fastest moments ever is when I felt free. I felt like so loose, so free. Nothing was hindering my body at all. It just felt like I was going to fly off the ground.
How do you think it would be if, instead of following your normal routine, because if somebody were to just watch you set up, they probably wouldn't think that you're the most free and relaxed person, because you're locking your arms in and stuff. What do you think would happen if you just stepped up and were more kind of relaxed and stuff like that, other than the ball probably not going where you want? But do you think you'd be faster?
Well, that's what I do in the PLDA World Championships. That's what I did last year. You can see how like I was still out there, but I was like a lot more loose, right? So, I mean, I do it but if I'm trying to control it, it's tough for me to really let it go.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So on that day when you were going 220 and it was easy and one of those good days, what was then the difference if you were at 210 and then you go to 220? I'm talking on the same day. What did you think? Where did you apply force? Where did you whatever to get to?
So I applied force. I applied force up and down. So I would go higher and then I'd go lower, and then I'd feel like I hold the club around my body, the left side of my body, really hard.
Okay.
And that was it. It was pushing off the ground hard, like right at the right moment in time, all of that. Yeah. That's really what it is. It's going up, letting it really lag and set on the downstroke as I'm turning. Cause like, I don't set it early. I let it set by my body rotation.
Yeah.
And then that's what delays it enough to where it just whips out at the right moment in time. And then I turn around. Cause I'm 215 pounds right now. I'm not that crazy strong. But I still have a lot of speed, and that's because I know how to time it well. As much as I try to take timing out, I've become really good at timing it as well.
Yeah. So one of the things that's kind of confusing for somebody who's trying to learn about speed or about even just making a good golf swing is that you can find examples of people who do things so differently. And so just on that little point of setting it late versus like somebody who had said it earlier, you can find good examples either way. But yeah, we cut out for a second. So what I was saying is, to find the difference, like for you and what performs better for you, is that a trial and error thing you have to go through?
Every day, yeah. I mean, tomorrow when I go out and start hitting some golf balls to speed train with a long driver, I'm probably not even, I'm going to warm up, hit a couple iron shots, and I go, straight to the long driver. And my goal is to get to 215. Like, I'm going to be pushing as hard as I can to get there. And then by the end of this week, I want to hit close to 220. I'm going to give myself like 1 or 2 days off in between, try and recover really well, work out really well. And then once I hit 220 or get close to that, by the end of this week, I'm going to give myself 2 days off and then start to gradually increase for next week. That's just kind of like what I'll try and do.
Yeah.
So I'll give a couple hard push days to get my body adapted to speed again.
How was it for you last year at Worlds where you had to go, was it 4 days in a row, 3 days in a row for you?
It was 4.
How was that? Because you probably hadn't really done that before.
No, it was an endurance test, but I was the fastest by the last day. And then right about the top 8, I started to teeter out. My body just couldn't hold it. So I'm going to be more prepared, I think, this year, even though, my hand injury and everything, I've been hitting. I can't tell you how many golf balls I've hit in the past month. So many. So my body's going to be physically ready. It's more about the speed. If I can get it back up to the speed pretty quickly. So we'll see. I'm excited though. I mean, I know you're excited, I'm sure.
I'm very excited. So the last couple of years has been kind of tough for me. I had a weird injury also with my hand, my thumb, but it made it so I really couldn't swing fast. I tried all different kinds of grips, 10-finger, like everything. And it just took forever to recover. And I'm finally now in a position, and I guess I have been for a number of months, but where I can really train and I can see the results of this training getting me back to, really high speed, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this Worlds. I'm feeling good going in. Let's talk, because you mentioned some of your conditioning and stuff getting for it, and people who watch you from a few years ago, you bulked up, you've leaned out, you've bulked up again, you've leaned out. So what are you doing now? And like, what's the reason behind your toning up?
Well, I want to look a little bit better. I was getting pretty fat there for a while, and I'll say that my gut health hasn't been great just because I didn't really eat that clean. So I've started eating clean. I got a chef. She's been awesome. She's been taking care of me, eating really well. And so I'm really trying to lean into carving up a little bit for the Worlds because I'm going to need it. So just planning out my nutrition and making myself feel really good all the time, no matter what, is kind of the goal.
What kind of stuff are you eating now?
This Whole30 diet, as much as I possibly can. So all natural, as much natural as I possibly can get.
Yeah, that's good.
So still carbs, sugars, a lot of honey. I love honey, but give myself a good balance now. It was tough for the first few weeks weaning off of that, but I'll tell you, if you go on a Whole30 diet and you go to a caloric deficit, you will lose fat like that. It is crazy. Not a keto diet. Keto diet did not do it. It made me really. I actually stored more fat. I was chubby skinny.
Really?
Yeah, doing a keto diet. It was weird because any fat that I had would just store because my body wasn't using it because I couldn't work out that hard. I couldn't do much. So it's weird when you deprive it of something, it starts to store what you deprive. Actually, until you get to a point where you've deprived it so much that it absolutely has to use it. It's like guys that are the most unhealthy people run maybe half a mile a day, or they run a mile a day. People think, oh, I'm going to go run on a treadmill. They're usually the ones that have the most fat buildup in them. You look at the guys that work out, they have this high intense workout with a lot of weights. They're usually the ones that are a little bit more lean and can lean out pretty easily. And that's because when you go run for a mile, your body goes, oh, I need to store more. But when you're working out hard and you're exercising like crazy up to a certain amount that's more and trying to build muscle, you burn a lot of fat off of that. And if you eat the right foods and you have fat, but healthy types of fat that can easily digest in your system, you can actually start leaning out really quickly by using all the stuff necessary to build muscle mass and decrease lactic acid and allow yourself to get to a healthier, less inflamed state. Because technically, when you're from what I've experienced, keto diet, you actually get more inflamed because you aren't giving yourself the necessary amounts of food, fats and proper fats that allow you to heal and recover muscle quickly. So I was really inflamed on the keto diet. I actually felt bad on it. No offense. I mean, people that do keto, like I know if it's working for you, great. Like everybody's different, but for me, the Whole30 diet has been crazy helpful.
Yeah, I've known people who have had great success with the Whole30 diet. I've never followed it closely, and I've also never done a really strict keto diet. I have done carnivore, which like people would say is similar to keto, although it's a little different, of course, but I loved it. I mean, for me, I respond really well. I wouldn't say that I have any kind of a sensitive GI system. So thankfully for me, it's, I don't feel a huge difference when I eat one way or the other, but for me, the carnivore diet or a modified carnivore diet has been great. I
don't feel different in my stomach. I felt my whole mood was completely different. For the first couple of weeks, it was terrible. And then it's just leveled out pretty consistently after that. Not as high or low anymore.
Yeah, it's wild. I've also heard some people who, when they cut out, like they probably had, I don't know if it probably was some version of celiac or something, but they had brain fog, depression, stuff like that. And they cut out one food group or another and that went away. So it does. People a lot of times discount really that you are what you eat, and it makes a huge impact.
It does. It definitely does.
Yeah. Cool. So, let me touch a little bit on the mental side of things. Let's just say for whatever reason things aren't going your way in a certain day. What kind of routines or rituals or whatever do you follow to still perform your best?
Well, I got to go back to what makes me happy and joyful. Those are the two most important things, what I was put here on the earth to do. And that's to give back as much as I possibly can to kids and help grow the game as much as I possibly can. If I do those two things, I get set back in my track pretty quickly. I love giving. I love helping other people. I love progressing in the world. And I love fixing problems. So when I can't fix a problem, I got to go back to what I can fix and what I can do to help influence the world in a positive way. And that's me. That's what makes me happy when I'm in a bad mental state.
Well, that's cool. And I think one of the great things that's come of the last year, from my perspective, with you is what you're doing with your YouTube channel, with Regecy, with everything, where people are getting that insight into you and they're learning from you and they're seeing, the kind of person that you really are. And I'm sure it's rewarding for you to get to be able to put that out there and get the feedback.
It definitely is. It's a lot of fun, and that's why I continue to do it. And it fills my heart with joy.
And that's got to be also one of the benefits to, personally, I'm a fan of LIV Golf. And now that you can put out more content about it, you can really be yourself out there. And that's cool.
It's super exciting. And there's a lot more to come in the future. I can tell you that. And the last thing I'll say is that it's just the beginning. Every big thing has a small beginning. And that's what this is.
Yeah. All right. I got like 3 quick rapid fire questions. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite exercise for golf or for long drive?
Trunk rotation.
Weighted, fast. What do you do?
It's midline. So it can be heavy and it can be fast depending on what I feel like I need.
Okay. What's your favorite drill for golf or long drive?
For long drive? My favorite drill is just swinging, hit harder. it's literally all I do.
Okay. Nothing technical?
Nope. No, just as hard as I physically, loosening up, letting yourself free up, letting your muscles free up.
Okay. If you were to give advice to somebody just learning to play the game, wanting to get into golf and having a passion maybe for hitting it far as well, what would you say to them?
Go hit 120 to 150 balls. Let's do 3 times a week for 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and you'll gain some speed.
Very cool. Final one. What's your motivation? What's your why? I mean, a lot of people would look at you and say, man, US Open, LIV, like all of these amazing things. Why do you still want to continue to be better?
Why is life worth living if you can't continue to progress?
For sure. It's a good answer. Good answer. Awesome. Well, Bryson, I really appreciate your time and your insight into a lot of things. What can people expect out of you, out of Regecy, all that coming up in the following months?
Well, you're going to expect a lot of great content. Hopefully some fireworks, me winning a LIV event, and hopefully getting close to potentially winning the PLDA World Long Drive Championships. I hope that would be a possibility in the future. And there also may be something exciting coming down the line with long drive. I'm not going to speak more on that, but we're working hard behind the scenes.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, man. I'll see you in a couple of weeks in Mesquite.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. See ya.
All right. Thanks, man.
Bye.